So this segment deals with transferable skills, and our moderator for today is none other than distinguished Toastmaster Ben Martin. And this young man is near and dear to my heart because he is actually my mentor. I was assigned to this young man back in August of 2016. And he was in Turks and Caicos at the time. So we figured, how would that work? Mentoring me all the way from Turks and Caicos. But anytime I reached out, he was there. So let me just run through his bio just slightly. Vince Martin joined Toastmasters Club 7178 in 2003, 2004 term. And I served in numerous executive positions in his home club, as well as other club local and including Pinnacle Seekers and international in Turks and Caicos and the UK. He also served at the district level as area governor and District 47 contest chair. He received a distinguished Toastmasters designation in 2011. Distinguished Toastmaster Vince Martin studied biochemistry and economics at the then College of the Bahamas and was trained as a high school teacher. He studied law at the Sir Edian Depute Law School and Oxford Brookes University. He has a corporate commercial lawyer's employee. I'm reading from my phone, so please forgive me. He has a graduate diploma in law and business administration. He is a law tutor and a corporate commercial lawyer employed in the wealth management industry. He is a consultant and a member of the council and a number of charitable organizations, nonprofit. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the distinguished Toastmaster, Vince Martin, who will lead this dynamic panel of individuals. I would allow for distinguished Toastmaster Martin to introduce his panel at this time.
Good afternoon. And I hope you're having a wonderful day. I got a bit of the previous session and it was terrific. And I hope we have just as much excitement and learn just as much in this current session. It is my pleasure to be here with you, and I promise to be short. Fellow Toastmasters and esteemed guests, I have a panel of experts as we speak to the topic transferable skills. And I know our division director, I soon to be the distinguished Toastmaster, Derek Garcia-Roll, spoke to it in the introduction, but it's amazing how Toastmasters isn't just about leadership and communication, but it transcends into your professional life. It certainly helped me in my professional life, and it certainly will help anyone who's willing to learn and put in the time. So without any further delay, we will introduce our panel of experts. These are brilliant Toastmasters who will help us to move into the level of theory and practice as we learn more about the transferable skills in this Toastmasters program. First up, and I will introduce them in the manner of their position in speaking. And first up will be distinguished Toastmaster Deandra Dorset. Distinguished Toastmaster Dorset, Deandra Christina Dorset, is the second of 5 children born to Barbara Williams of Crooked Island and Emmanuel Dorset of Cat Island, real Bahamian. And she's the proud graduate of Crooked Island High School And in 2014, she graduated from the then College of the Bahamas, which is now known as the University of the Bahamas, obtaining a Bachelor of Education in English Language and Literature. In the same year, and she graduated with distinction, may I add. In the same year, she joined the BUT, that's the Bahamas Union of Teachers Nation Builders Toastmasters Club, and served as its treasurer. She then went on to serve as the Vice President of Public Relations, Vice President Education, and then President. She continued her leadership journey in the Toastmasters program by serving as Area 91 Director in 2018-2019. She was President's Distinguished Division I Director in 2019-2020 term. Now District 47's Conference Co-Chair for 2020 and 2021. And she currently serves as Division D Director. And in addition to mentoring numerous club members, in May of 2020, Deandra sponsored the very first Breakfast Toastmasters Club in the Bahamas that meets on Saturdays. In that same year, she attained the Distinguished Toastmaster Award, the highest educational award in the Toastmasters program. Deandra is also subject coordinator for the Language Arts Department at CV Bethel Senior High School, where her students affectionately call her Mrs. D. She possesses strong leadership skills and has the passion for mentoring and impacting the lives of young people, as if it is her fervent belief that one should always give back to the community. Moreover, Miss D, as she's known, is motivated by personal and professional growth and has the drive for seeing others succeed in life. She continues to guide her interaction with the old adage, treat others the way you want to be treated. Fellow Toastmasters, esteemed guests, let's give a virtual rousing round of applause to distinguished Toastmaster Deandra Dossett. Take it away, distinguished Toastmaster Deandra.
Oh my word. You are such a great speaker. Have you ever thought about joining Toastmasters? Toastmasters? What's that? It's an organization that helps you to develop your communication and leadership skills, which can be useful in your personal and professional life. Oh, I don't need Toastmasters. I already know to speak, and I'm a natural born leader. Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, good afternoon. I am Distinguished Toastmaster Deandra C. Dorsett, and that's Dorsett with the E at the end. I'm an educator by profession of 9 years and a big kid at heart for all my life. The scenario above is an actual conversation that I had with someone who exuded confidence while he spoke to a small crowd at a family gathering in which I was not family. Now, many of you may be familiar with the opposite, where individuals feel a bit trepidatious about joining Toastmasters because they have to speak in front of others. Well, my encounter was completely different, and I was not afraid. You see, I could have recognized that confidence from a mile away, since he was able to command the attention of everyone at the function through his use of humor and wit. He thought that he had arrived. He did not recognize his crutch phrase of, you see, and the lack of vocal variety that made it seem as if he was shouting at me, or the ahs and ums, 10 and 7, if I was counting. See, growing up in Cricket Island, a quaint island in the Bahamas, I was told that I was brave. I was always told that I was brave. Now, in the 4th grade, my teacher called me loquacious. After she told me the definition of the word, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I fell in love. Yes, I am talkative, but to say loquacious, whew, it had a flair to it. Yes, I would talk to anyone, everywhere I went, and no one was off limits. No question was prohibited. But this social butterfly did not recognize how much she needed Toastmasters. As a matter of fact, She did not even know that Toastmasters existed until she graduated from the now called University of the Bahamas, some 9 years after leaving Nassau, after leaving Crooked Island. But at a recent virtual District 47 event held a few nights ago, Toastmasters International President-elect Distinguished Toastmaster Matt Kenzie said, if you think about the reason why you joined the organization, Toastmasters who've been here for a while may realize that you do not have the same reason that you did when you initially joined. Now that got me thinking. I initially joined to develop my communication skills for me. But 3 years in, I found myself on the leadership track and I was loving it. I've learned so many things like budget preparation, tracking and forecasting revenue, planning, journaling, graphic design, advertising, promotion, reward and incentive, team building, scheduling, training, recognition, management, conflict resolution, and much more. I didn't notice that I had shifted paths, but I do know that I'm so grateful for my mentor, Distinguished Toastmaster Tiffany Burrell Roberts, who pushed me in that direction. Because of Toastmasters, I was defying the odds. When I first arrived at my school, where I taught grades 10, 11, and 12 graders, I was told that I needed to turn down my energy level just a bit because I was doing too much. And young people in large schools as such are not promoted until they spent at least 10 or 15 years on that, towing that metaphorical line. Fellow Toastmasters, 3 years later, I was promoted at work as the head of the department where I'm currently serving. During this time, members in my department, including myself, we were unmotivated and emotionally distraught. The past 2 years, we faced a lot of Category 5 hurricanes, tornadoes, and tsunamis. But it was my job to help rebuild my team. This is where Toastmasters transferable skills came into play. I've learned how to listen, to understand, and to speak to members in their way, to help them to understand why they are an important part of the team and how they can contribute to rebuilding this team. Sometimes you find that it is a simple conversation can clear up a whole lot of miscommunications. This may require you spending your meeting time to allow members to vent and share their feelings and communicate openly as we would in our club officers or division huddles. At times, you may have to share your dilemma with the team because they may have a solution that you haven't thought about at your division huddles or your district huddles as we do, because someone else may be going through the exact same thing. Other times, you may have to delegate tasks as we do in our club area or division groups. Ladies and gentlemen, these transferable skills such as communication, leadership, management, service, and strategic planning has benefited me in a great way, and it can do the same for you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Distinguished Toastmaster Deandra C. Dorset. Fantastic. Thank you so very much, Distinguished Toastmaster Dorset. We will hear from our next presenter on this topic of transferable skills. And I'm excited because this young man has done a lot in the Toastmasters program in the short time he's been in the Toastmasters program. Ladies and gentlemen, Carlos Palacios is a distinguished Toastmaster, having joined the first Bahamas branch of Toastmasters Club 1600 in November of 2010. And he served as its area director, president, vice president membership, vice president, public relations, treasurer. And in 2013, he was District 47's evaluation contest champion. Carlos is an engineer by training, an environmentalist by nature, an entrepreneur by heart, and an executive by profession. Carlos was the first Bahamian coastal engineer. He is a licensed professional engineer in the Bahamas, Canada, and the United States of America, as well as being globally certified as a project management professional. In 2021, Project Y Bahamas named Carlos as one of the top 48 millennials for his work in the environment, media, service, business, as well as a change maker. In 2018, the Professional Services Bahamas Board named Carlos on the prestigious top 40 under 40 list. He was selected to represent the American Society of Civil Engineers as an emerging leader in 2015. Carlos is the founder and managing principal of several engineering and technical related businesses, including Braun, Eden Farms, Blue Terra. Carlos has led many of the largest and most nationally significant public and private sector development projects and studies in recent times. Carlos holds numerous leadership roles in professional, civic, and religious organizations. He is a regular presenter at national and regional forums in the areas of hurricane preparedness and response, climate change, adaptation, and sustainable development. Carlos is married to Anastasia, and they have a daughter, Cairo, and a son, Chosen. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give a rousing virtual applause to distinguished Toastmaster Carlos Palacios. Distinguished Toastmaster Palacios. It's up to you.
Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Martin. It's a pleasure to be here on this panel. Toastmaster Dorset, you continue to be an inspiration to me. Thank you for sharing those very kind words about your journey and how they've translated across your path from Crooked Island to teaching and of course the Toastmasters. It's just a pleasure to be here. It's always an honor to be invited to speak on what I consider to be the most transformative part of my life, and that's been my experience and the opportunities provided in Toastmasters. So back in 2010, when I moved back home, I had no job, I had no car, I had no wife, I had no kids, I had just the understanding that I wanted to be better, that I could be better, and that there was opportunities out there to go ahead and move forward. From there came the introduction to Toastmasters. The powerful thing about Toastmasters is it takes you from wherever you are and it propels you further on. The mentors available within Toastmasters, the ability to take, can you hear me? The ability to take a young person from various backgrounds and to mold them into leaders and into persons who can step forward in the community is the key to this program. Other than the many organizations out there that often are focused on service, Toastmasters focuses on self-development, and that is extremely powerful. The opportunity to take someone who can't speak confidently to be able to invoke or to instill in them the ability to have the presence, the confidence, the practice to step in front of an audience, to present and to execute is one of the powerful aspects of this program. Toastmasters such as distinguished Toastmaster Clem Foster, Keith Major, Cyprian Gibson, the mentors who have been able to instill certain values in us is what allows us to then pass that along to future generations. If you've ever come to a crossroad where you're looking for the opportunity to step forward, to advance your career, I'm hearing that you can't hear me because of background noise.
Okay, I'll ask the technical assistance in muting other mics except for that of Toastmaster Palacios.
Thank you. And so there's the opportunity to continue to walk forward in your purpose. In joining Toastmasters, a part of it is overcoming your own shortcomings and overcoming your own fears. Just like any other skill, whether you're trying to learn to play tennis, whether you're trying to learn to play golf, whether you're trying to do a degree, there's the opportunity to put in time, and the time that you put in will be directly correlated to how far you go. And it's the same thing in this program. The more time that's spent in
Tech coordinator, please unmute our speaker, Carlos.
Thank you. The more time you spend, so whether it's practicing your speeches, whether it's listening to YouTube videos of other speakers who have the skill sets and who have the experiences that you admire, the more time that you spend with your colleagues as well as your mentors within the program will be directly correlated to how far you go. And just like any elite athlete who has coaches, who has persons who inspire them, who have persons who instill certain values and guidance in their lives, the structure of the program is exactly that. And giving just an evaluation, the evaluation in itself is something that allows you to get immediate feedback. And that feedback comes in your leadership roles. That feedback comes directly in the speeches you present. And that feedback comes along the journey that you take in Toastmasters. So I encourage you all to continue to give 100%, to continue to look forward to reaping and sowing the benefits of what you plant, and continuing to walk forward in your purpose and using this program to elevate you in your career, in your family life, and of course, in other aspects of your life. Thank you.
Hey, can you hear me now? Yes, thank you, Mr. Technical Coordinator. I am now heard. Can everyone hear me? Excellent.
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your attention, fellow Toastmasters and guests. We will move quickly into our final presenter, and then we will have sort of this panel where you're free to ask your questions and make your comments, and perhaps you have some transferable skills to share with us, because we realize in the Toastmasters program that no one is an expert, but collectively we are experts in this subject matter. So without further delay, we will move to the next presenter. And this is a very impressive Toastmaster, having been a former United States Marine. I'm going to really pay attention. This is Toastmaster CC Esprut. And forgive me if I don't use all of the pronunciations. I'm sure a grammarian will get to me at the end of the session. But Toastmaster CC is a former United States Marine Corps member. She is a 3-time distinguished Toastmaster. She's an author, master photographer, a TED Talks speaker. Her life is centered on 3 core values: God, family, and education. Distinguished Toastmaster CC currently attends Florida International University, where she is studying industrial organizational psychology. This is deep stuff, with the emphasis in change management and personal development. In addition to being a keynote speaker at conferences around the world, she also serves as Vice President Education for her Toastmasters Club and speaks at schools and colleges about learning development. We're starting with the awkwardness of stereotypes and prison statistics. Distinguished Toastmaster CC delivers a powerful message followed by solutions that work. She sits on the board of the Broward County Reentry Coalition for Ex-Offenders to help rehabilitate inmates who are transitioning back into society following incarceration. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, once again, let's give a rousing virtual applause to distinguished Toastmaster CC Esprut as she presents on transferable skills. Take it away, distinguished Toastmaster CC.
Thank you for that amazing introduction. So everybody knows I will always, always tell you the truth. And the truth of the matter is that if you associate with other Toastmasters. They will have you believing in yourself and thinking that you can accomplish anything, especially if you have a committee behind you. Recently, I was sitting at a table with 9 other people discussing a project that has a budget of $100,000. We are bringing in 13 speakers from across the country, and so we have to deal with logistics and travel and budget, food, hotel, all of these things. And as I'm sitting there, I'm actually feeling like I'm an imposter. Like, who am I to be sitting at a table with these Fortune 100 executives trying to plan a project like this? And my heart starts to beat. I think I'm going to pass out. And as they look at me, they say, Cece, you are going to be in charge of volunteers. We need you to get 60 volunteers. They have to be diverse and inclusive. We want you to handle that. And I'm thinking to myself, me? I'm actually an imposter. I don't know how I got here. But I took a deep breath. Something I learned in Toastmasters. When you don't know what to say, just breathe. And then I started making notes. And I started remembering that when I was an area director, and Deandra and Tiffany, we were all area directors together, I started taking notes, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I need to get a team together. I need 60 volunteers. Who am I going to get? And I immediately put out a call to all my Toastmaster clubs and resources, telling them I need help. And after I took another deep breath, I realized that this project is just a big spring conference. Yes, the budgeting, the logistics, getting the speakers, the food, the planning, the agenda. It's just a big spring conference. And I sat down and I thought, okay, there's no imposter syndrome here going on here. I have trained for this in Toastmasters. Toastmasters is where we come to play and learn and make mistakes so that when we go out into the real world, we can implement all those skills. And as I sat down there and I thought, I've got this. I know exactly what to do. All I have to do is get people who know what they do. Yes, simple. All right. And so at this point, the project that I'm working on right now that actually takes place in 2 weeks from today is TEDx Boca Raton 2022. And guess what? I am totally prepared. I understand the team no sleep because guess what? During the spring conference, when we did it in person, that was our motto, team no sleep. You do not sleep. You sleep afterwards. Yes, that's all I have to do. And so I learned that the skills that I learned being an area director, just bring them over into this new venture. Transferable skills in its simplest form. No need to feel like an imposter because I've learned the skills that I need right here in Toastmasters. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster, distinguished Toastmaster Cece. So fellow Toastmasters, there you have it. You have heard 3 experts. And I want to shake it up a bit because I know when you're the last session of the day, there's something what I term as attendance attrition. I know distinguished Toastmaster Carlos is an engineer, is well acquainted with the concept of attrition and things falling off. So I want to put it to you, to the panel, not just the panel, but to you, the audience, because you've been such a great audience. and you've spent perhaps the last 4 hours, and I want you to give me a testimony of the transferable skills that has helped you, that you've learned from Toastmasters. For example, you've heard it said about being an area governor. You just heard distinguished Toastmaster CC talk about how being up all night, and I've of course heard my division director say he doesn't sleep, but I know that for a fact because we email and WhatsApp all hours of the night on Toastmasters ideas and events. So I know that distinguished, I keep saying distinguished Toastmaster Derek Roll, and he's going to make this happen this year so that I could say that with all certainty that he is in fact earned his title. But I want to hear from our audience, and I can call your name, but I will refrain from doing so. I want you to put your hands up and tell me, give me a testimony of transferable skills, something that you've taken from Toastmasters and you've implemented in your work life. I'll give you a short testimony of my life. I'll tell you, in the current role, Toastmasters has taught me that you don't sleep when you have a task to complete. So in addition to all of the projects you learn in the education, and I came under the old program when it was this competent communication manual and the advanced manual and the ACL, and now I know we have pathways. But I'll tell you, under the old regime, we had to work hard, and even on becoming an area governor, not the area director as it then is now, you know, it was a sweat. It was but it was a labor of love because we loved the program, and it wasn't just speaking, but it was leadership. And so I want to hear about transferable skills, and I'm asking for just about 2 testimonies from perhaps a Toastmaster who's been in the program for more than 10 years and a Toastmaster who's been in the program for just perhaps 1 or 2 years. So I'll put it out. I look for hands. Well, actually, you don't even have to raise your hand. Before I go to the panel, just unmute your mic and tell me about a transferable skill that you've taken from Toastmasters.
I have one. Can you hear me?
Go right ahead. And who's
Great.
introduce yourself in case.
My name is Susan. I'm with the Boca Raton Toastmaster Club in
Hi, Susan.
Florida. Hey. Okay, so
Welcome.
here's my experience. I own an international company, and one of my clients in Morocco asked me to give a graduation speech. That meant going to Morocco and preparing a speech. I got a lot of help from my fellow Toastmasters because obviously in Morocco, the graduates of this school were from Morocco, Africa, Europe, all places. And I, thanks to Toastmasters, I got up there. There were 1,000 people in the audience, and I started that speech in English, French, and Arabic, which were the languages that were most spoken in Morocco. Of course, everybody was listening and gripped, but when I got to the second paragraph, I wasn't going to be able to continue in 3 languages. And after that, I noticed some people dozing off, but I just kept saying, thank you, Toastmasters. I never would have even said yes if it weren't for the confidence that I had knowledge and just the ability to get up there and talk. So thank you, Toastmasters.
And thank you for sharing that story, Toastmaster Susan. That is brilliant. You know, fellow Toastmasters and guests, we're all evaluators here. And if I had to evaluate something from Toastmaster Susan's speech, it talks about knowing your audience, and the fact that she went up and provided just an introduction in multiple language. It's one of those skills I learned in Toastmasters. Know your audience. So if I'm speaking to an audience who speaks French and I don't speak French, perhaps I should at least have an introduction, bonjour, or comment allez-vous, you know, just to let them know that I cared enough to learn how to say hello in your language. Fantastic testimony. I'll open it to one more before I go to my panel of experts. Any more testimony?
Good
That was
afternoon,
great.
fellow Toastmasters and guests. I am
Yes.
Denison Balfour. My home club is Healing Communicators Club 7178, and I joined in 2007. Toastmasters has definitely added to the way I thoroughly enjoy my job at the Ministry of Tourism. I currently serve as a trainer in the industry training department. So I will talk about two transferable skills. The first one is leading a team to effectively represent an organization when you're left there on your own. So in Bahama Host classes, I have to ensure that we cover material in an effective manner and using time management skills as well, and making sure that the class is done in a professional manner that reflects what the Ministry of Tourism is all about. And the other thing I learned is how to adapt a presentation and add new information to enhance that presentation so that you continue to hold the audience attention for up to 4 hours. So what I do, we have several different topics for each presentation. And in Toastmasters, we do 5 to 7 minute speeches. So I've divided those presentations into several segments where I do several presentations to mix it up to make sure that I hold the audience attention for that time and the participants get the most from that presentation. And that helps us to enhance the customer service skills of our participants. Thank you, DTM Martin.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Denison Balfour. That is wonderful. And if I could evaluate, if we all heard about Toastmaster Denison's testimonial, I can extrapolate that our speeches, if we have a 2-hour-long speech, it may not be the best for an audience, but if we break it up. So that is something I certainly learned from Toastmasters, in addition to even knowing how to speak, because no other organization in the world that I know of, outside of going to a college or a university, teaches you the fundamentals of public speaking as Toastmasters does. So fellow Toastmasters, without any further delay, let's hear, if you have questions, let's hear from our panel in terms of transferable skills. You've heard their speeches, but you may have questions. This is your opportunity. Otherwise, you will hear me talking and asking them questions. Go right ahead, raise your hand, or just unmute your mic and ask a question. I know this is the last session, so we could be a little more relaxed because we want you to really participate and get the best out of the session. Questions for any one of our three panelists? So I will lead the way as moderator. I always have burning questions. And so to our three panelists, and I know it's a different scenario for each, because you have a panel member coming from the United States Marine, a soldier who is accustomed to giving instructions. And then you have a teacher who is also accustomed to giving instructions. And then you have an engineer who is accustomed to building everything and then breaking it down again and rebuilding it just for the fun of it. So I'm imagining that what you would say is the most crucial skill you've extracted from the Toastmasters program to help you in your daily work or in your profession. And we could start with to Distinguished Toastmaster Cece, and then we'll move to Distinguished Toastmaster Carlos, and then Distinguished Toastmaster Deandra. If you could link one particular skill from the Toastmasters program, you might have more than one, but just one for the sake of time.
No, it's very simple. Listening to what my team wants, listening to the feedback, definitely listening. And I have one person on my team that I have told her that when I start thinking that everybody doesn't need food or water or sleep, and that I'm asking too much of the team, that she can come and just tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, Cece, step back a bit.
Thank you.
I might not like it, but then I'll be aware of it. So listening for me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Outstanding question and great response, distinguished Toastmaster CC. I would say that the most transferable skill would be the ability to give effective feedback that is well received. And I think the power of the evaluation is an amazing skill that we learn in Toastmasters, even down to the time at which it has to be delivered, the ability to translate it ideally in the sandwich approach with good feedback, and then some recommendations for improvement, and then to close with positive reinforcing words. I use it in my marriage. I use it with my kids. I use it with my team members. I use the sandwich approach for feedback for every aspect. And I found that it helps to be better received, to run on less, rambling on, and to allow real change or positive impacts to occur. So I definitely think the evaluation process is the most transferable skill that I've learned. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, DTM Dorset.
Thank you. So Stacey already touched on listening, because that was one of my greatest things. One of the things that we did this year that Natanya, our region advisor, did for us, she would let us do this exercise where we just listen to someone speak for about 2 minutes without saying anything, which would be like the hardest task ever for anyone who's having a conversation without trying to just lead them and find out more about something. However, I'm just now going to focus on the fact that that open communication for my team. I've found that a lot of times people have issues because they're not able to express it. So by keeping everything bottled up inside, you find that you want to explode. And the simplest of things would actually be that one thing, that straw that would actually break the camel's back. So once we have that open door policy where you can openly communicate your feelings in a respectful way, then we can ensure that we can move forward. I found that once I simply said to my team members, listen, if you want me to communicate with you this way, I also need you to meet me halfway. They understood that. They first would question, well, why? I mean, you're the leader. It's your job to do this. It's your job, because it's your job to, right? Whenever you're a leader, it's your job to. So everyone feels as if they can do anything, but you still have to take it. But after we had this view of where we have to communicate, you understand that I am also a human being. I also have to do the same job that you have to do as well. You would understand that I'm going through the exact same thing you're going through. So if we work together, if you tell me your feelings, I share mine, we figure out a way to work through it. I found that helped, that took our team from point A to point J in no time, because they felt comfortable to communicate.
Wow, fantastic. So fellow Toastmasters and guests, we have some questions from the audience. And first up is distinguished Toastmaster Anton. Roll. Unmute your mic, sir. And let us hear you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Shameless employment plug here. So I am undergoing a switch from software development to being a Scrum Master. And in person, I am able to display the skills that I've learned in Toastmasters and how that's going to transfer over into this new position. But what I'm having trouble with is trying to show those skills, whether on a profile or on a cover letter. How do I do that to get someone to see that those skills that I'm learning in all those different leadership positions within Toastmasters, I can now apply that to a Scrum Master position within their organization?
Very good. Open to the panel. Answer at will.
All right. All right. Your best friend, your absolutely best friend from here on out is Jarvis.ai. Okay? It is artificial intelligence, and it will help you write the most amazing cover letter, bio. It's so simple to use, and it just brings everything together, and it will give you direction on how to write anything. So Jarvis.ai is definitely the way to go.
Distinguished Toastmaster CC, Jarvis, Jarvis?
Yes, .ai. All right.
Okay, I just wanted to put it in the chat.
I will give you my link, so I get credit for you,
Excellent.
Jordan. And it is like amazing, amazing. My bio was written in part by Jarvis.
Interesting.
Outstanding.
Any other panel member?
Outstanding. Yes, DTM Martin, Toastmaster role. I would just give you a quick story. So one of the Toastmasters in our club, he told us early on when we had joined about an experience he had. He was trying to get a new job and he couldn't get any feedback from the vice president who was accountable for making that decision. He put his resume in a shoebox, wrapped it, and put a bow on it and left it because everyone likes gifts. The VP opened the gift and there was his resume and a note that said, just trying to get a foot in the door. He got the job. And that is a true story. And so I share that specific story because it shows that creativity always stands out. I hire on interview somewhere around 100 people a year, just to put it into perspective. And of those 100 people or so, the shortlisted people who end up actually joining one of our companies typically are people who have done things that are outside of the box. And so I encourage anyone, and Toastmasters is an opportunity to do that. We participate in contests, we use props, we use body language. There's just so many things that allow you to differentiate yourself. And so look at what separates you. So using Jarvis is outstanding. Use programs like that. It'll definitely put you in the 1%, and then use your own creative genius to take it to the next level.
Excellent. Wow. Toastmaster Dawson.
Okay, I just wanted to add to it as it relates to Toastmasters. I've found that sometimes we get so caught up into our little space that we're in, we forget about that N word that we have in Toastmasters. That's networking. And you have so many individuals here that if you take a second to speak to them, you would be amazed about what they do, because a lot of people might be just like you. So feel free to network, go beyond the hello, I'm Antoine role, but actually find out, what do you do, Cece? What are you interested in? This is what I do. And you would find out that there are others out there who can help you, because this world, District 47 and beyond, has so much more to offer, but utilize that networking aspect. I find that we oftentimes downplay it, and we just stay within our own little circle and try to figure out how we're going to make it. But if you find out, you would realize, like I've learned in this year alone, that there are so many educators in Toastmasters. There are a lot of educators in Toastmasters. And that's just because I spoke to people and they found that we have a common interest. So that's something that I also want you to keep in mind as well.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you to the panelists. There's one thing that the panelists said before I read one of the other questions, was the fact that using your creativity. I'll tell you, there is no other post than being the chairman or the Toastmaster of the evening. You can create your movement, you can create, and that has sort of inspired me in terms of when I'm doing presentations at work, that there's more than just one style of communication, and people learn in different ways. And so when you're the chairman or even just the table topics master, you don't have to come like everyone else and just bring, your 7 or 10 questions in the same way. I've seen it done. I had a mentee who she light up the sky. She brought the virtual platform and she almost invited, she took a clip of the actual Martin Luther King's presentation as when he asked a question, and she put it, and I'm like, man, this is just awesome. So I really liked what Carlos said about, the getting your foot in the door and just being creative. I mean, I don't have the gene, so I have to go to Jarvis and kind of help them to figure it out. But it is fantastic, and I love the energy. So I will move on before we get carried away, because I see our time is basically gone. But I want to get into the questions that were put in the chat. One question was, how can we get more people interested in learning the skills before the skills are actually needed? I put it to you, the panel.
That's a very interesting question. Now, a lot of people don't know this about me, but when I first came here to Nassau, I went to the Technical and Vocational College as well while I was at COB during that time, becoming an educator. And what I did, I learned how to do natural hair styling. So I learned how to do locks and natural hair, all of that good stuff. And then I tried to, because of time, I actually tried to go into tiling. Why tiling? I have no idea, but it's simply because I wanted to learn. I I'm so hungry about learning how to do things, even if I don't utilize it as much, just knowing or having that skill that I can fall back on knowing. So I think that one thing that you can do is motivate someone. That didn't happen because I just sat there one day and said, oh, I want to do that. It's simply because I saw a superwoman. I saw a superwoman who was out there just getting it done. A superwoman who knew how to do X, Y, Z. And because she did it, I felt like, what's stopping me from doing it? You have to, I think if you are in a leadership role, you have to lead by example. Show people that you are willing to get your feet dirty as well. Not stand on the side and tell them to roll in the mud. You have to be able to roll in the mud too. They have to know that you're able to do it. Once you do that, then you would motivate others to want to learn that skill. And once they want to learn that skill, they see something else out there that piques their interest because it tags along. It always connects to another transferable skill. No skill is there in isolation. Every skill is tied or connected to another. And you find that you would keep on going once you get onto one. So I'm going to stop right there.
Okay. Okay. Anyone want to tackle that before we go to the next question? If not, I will move to the next. Actually, DeAndre, while you were speaking, there was a question. How do you determine success in the department that you are in since the obstacles, given the obstacles you guys face?
Oh, they talk. They talk. That is something that, and when I say talk, you would understand how much I appreciate it at this time. Because when I first came into the department, everyone was just quiet. Nobody wanted to do anything. Everyone was just in the corner. They want us to do this. And you don't even understand what's happening. So you're there. Can you imagine trying to get something from people who just don't even want to communicate with you, who just stay there and be like, but I'm not even giving it to you. And you know that we have the leadership, we have the hierarchy here in Toastmasters, right? Where you communicate with your president communicates with area director communicates with division, and we go up like that. So I am the liaison between my teachers and my superiors, supervisors. So can you imagine you have all of your members, instead of coming through you, they want to go up to the top. They want to go, they don't even want to come through you because they've already been scarred with everything that happened in the past, and that's been happening. They would do that until I had a conversation. Listen, this is how you have to give something a chance. We have to do this, you have to do that. But it wasn't only me, it was also my superiors that I had a conversation with to understand that it's you who have to help me to be able to establish this. Because if you keep accepting it, how are you preaching or teaching people to follow the procedure? Follow this role? If you're teaching them that and you're still collecting those things, then you have to understand that's interfering with what I have to do as well. Once everyone was on the same page, that's how I knew that we were moving forward. And actually, when they communicate, they tell you. They're at the point where they tell you, listen, I don't understand. Why did you do this? If I send an email, they would call you on the side. So Deandra, I noticed that you sent an email. Why did you put this one in upper caps? So why did you underline that word? So it's simple things that they would do that you have to understand. It says a whole lot. Others, it might seem like it's a little, but those little changes make a big difference.
Wow, this is fantastic. Moving right along, I'm mindful of time and I have two more questions. Carlos, you're part of a lot of organizations. How did you start and what's your ultimate goal? Is it to take over the world?
Thank you so much, Wentz. I think that it's, and this is a transferable skill, time management. Coming up in Toastmasters Club 1600, where we have executive meeting on a Monday. On Tuesday, we have what's called lab, which is learning at its best. So we practice our speeches, etc., before the actual meeting. Then we have meetings on Thursday. Then we visit past presidents, etc., sometimes on Saturdays and Sundays. So we have a 4-day to night program almost that it takes a lot of your time. And when you're talking about organizations, there's no greater learning on how to manage your time in organizations than Toastmasters. The structure of Toastmasters, treasurer, secretary, sergeant at arms, etc. I've been able to use that training to incorporate it into the other organizations I'm a part of. And with that comes efficiency, comes the opportunity to maximize your time. It comes the efficiency, the ability to train others and to also help others to see how a structured, formatted, business-based program can operate. And so if your goal is to continue to join programs and grow, first start by determining what is your personal goals? What are you trying to achieve? And narrow that down to some simple things. Those simple things can then help to determine which organizations fit those core values or fit that direction. And from there, it'll grow organically. And the more you do, the more you get called on. And in time, you'll realize that it's your decision to determine where you spend your time and how it fits together.
Fantastic. Thank you much. And Cece, what was it like as a woman in the Marines? And I guess how your transferable skill in the Toastmasters would have
I wish I had been a Toastmaster and then I had joined the Marines. I wish it had gone that way. But being in the military was absolutely an amazing experience for me. It took me out of my comfort zone, and it was really my pleasure to serve my country. It was. I have many fantastic stories of being in the military. So yes, it was an honor.
Well, thank you so much, Cece. Thank you for all of the wonderful responses from our panelists. And before we close, there was something our former district leader, district director shared about how she got someone who didn't pay their bills to actually pay their bills. Distinguished Toastmaster Barbara Strata shared about how she baked cookies and sent them to companies who owed her company money, and they actually paid. Thank you for that. I actually am going to utilize that approach, but I can't bake good cookies. But I have to call one of these other Toastmasters and use their cookies. But that is creative. And so I think this was a fantastic session. I certainly wish we could have gone for another hour, and I know we would have probably learned a whole lot more, but this is our time for now. And I will yield to our division director, so soon to be distinguished Toastmaster, I see your role. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share and to be a part of this wonderful panel of experts. Distinguished Toastmaster Derek Garcia Roll.
Thank you very much. I think, Rosalind, are you going to take it away from here?
I will. Thank you so much, Toastmaster
Right.
Roll. It takes a village. I was having some technical issues and Toastmaster Roll stepped in for me, but I want all of us to give a hand to our panelists for their contribution and for the information, and for our moderator, Distinguished Toastmaster Martin. Very well done. I will be posting the link to the evaluation for this panel. Please fill it up. As we know in Toastmasters, feedback is essential. In about a minute, we will be moving on to our keynote speaker for this evening, before we close out with the closing ceremony.